Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
May 12, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Donald Trump resettles 50 white Afrikaners from South Africa, providing them food, clothing, and shelter. Where are those Negroes in Chicago who were mad about Mexican immigrants? They're mighty silent about these white Afrikaners. We'll talk about that. Also, continuing fallout over the arrest of Newark Mayor Ras Baraka. Congresswoman Bonnie Johnson Coleman has been going off on ICE and MAGA. We'll tell you about that. Also on today's show, progressives, for some reason, are really upset with Congressman Jim Clyburn. We'll be talking to him about the future of the Democratic Party. Also, Donald Trump agrees to accept a $400 million luxury jet from Qatar. Oh, but he's going to get to use it when he's out of office. And he says, I don't know, what's the big deal? And he announces a so-called deal with China. It's really an announcement about an announcement. Even conservatives on CNBC are saying, guess what? He screwed the economy up and China still wins. Plus, we'll get an update from attorney Candace Kelly on the start of the Sean Diddy Combs trial. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, the trial in New York City, the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs, really begins in earnest today. Candace Kelly, attorney, joins us right now to tell us exactly what took place in New York City.
Finally, the jurors were seated. That happened today around 10 a.m. And then we went right into opening arguments. The prosecution and the defense, they made a lot of promises. Listen, some of it was a surprise. Some of it was not so much a surprise. What wasn't a surprise was that we had the prosecution painting Sean Combs as a serial abuser. And they went through three people. One of them we know was Cassie, as well as somebody by the name of Mia and Jane, setting them up, saying that we would hear from these three people and details about them that they hadn't heard before. Now, many of these details we had already heard, but I think one of the things that really stuck out was how they painted Cassie. Yes, we all know her story. We know her journey, or we think we do up till now in terms of what's on the video. But when they said that she was forced to have somebody urinate in her mouth until she choked, I think that that is something that must have caught jurors by surprise. We also heard from the defense saying, listen, Sean Combs may have been a bad boyfriend. He may have been someone who took a lot of drugs. He may have been someone who was in an abusive relationship and was, in fact, an abuser. But that does not make him guilty of what he's on trial for today. In fact, when we look at the abuse and what happened on that tape, that's a state issue, and certainly the statute of limitations has run on that. So they wanted to make sure that the jury knew, let's separate these two things and make sure that we keep focused and our eyes on what we are supposed to be dealing with, and that is the sex trafficking. And that after all, in their opinion, of course, this was not trafficking at all. This was consensual adults. This was strong-willed women who could have gotten out of the relationship, they said, but they didn't. They stayed in this relationship, and that's where we are right now. So we also had some witnesses that we heard from today, too. But I think that when we look at the opening arguments, that set us up for a real journey, a real battle, a lot already that the jurors had to consider.
So, Candace, that's where I'm sort of, it's interesting. To your point, this is not a trial about domestic abuse. It's sex trafficking.
That's right. It is sex trafficking, and key to this, and we've gone over this before, is were these people coerced? Mia, Jane, Cassie, the three people that the prosecution set up that we would hear from. Another one talked about being beat by Sean Combs. Another one that they say is going to be a witness. They say that she will say that he came in her room late at night as an employee and penetrated her without her consent, and that he orally raped her. But again, the key is coercion. And in all of this, was there coercion? And the defense is saying, listen, they could have left. There were grown women. Why didn't they go? Now, I can only imagine how this would kind of land on jurors' ears. I think we all know people who have been in bad relationships, whether there have been abuse or not. It's difficult to leave. So I think it's very, it's an interesting setup for them to go that route, knowing that, you know, everybody probably in that room has been in a relationship that at one point they did not want to be in, but stayed in a little longer. So that's where we are. But I do definitely want to talk about these two witnesses. Listen, right off the bat, Roland, the jurors got to see the videotape. They got to see the videotape at the speed that Sean Combs' defense wanted to see it at. As you know, the speed at which we saw that video that was that took place, the beating video in Los Angeles in 2016, it was sped up a little bit. And the defense said that, look, this makes it look more aggressive. So they were glad to see that it was slowed down to the rate that it was originally supposed to be at for the jurors to see. They did this in conjunction with their first witness. His name was Israel Flores. He's now a police officer, but he was the security guard that we've been hearing about for such a long time that was paid off. As he said, he got $100,000, enough money that fit between his thumb and his pinky. He got that much money in order to make sure that this video, in his estimation, went away. Got a call about a woman in distress, went up to the 6th floor, but by that time, everything had happened. He says what he saw was a devious-looking Sean in the corner and that Cassie had a purple eye. He walked them back to her room because she refused to get any help. She did not want to press charges, walked her back to her room. Sean Combs, he said, thought that he was taking video of him at that time and jacked him up, grabbed him by the neck, and was abusive with him. So we are hearing from a different perspective what went on that night that we've all been seeing that video about. So a lot of interesting testimony right there.
Well, absolutely. So, listen, obviously what the prosecutors want to do is they want to absolutely establish him being horrible, despicable, because at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to put the imprint in the minds of that jury. So when the defense gets their part, you want them hating Sean Combs, correct?
Correct. And I think that the defense has said, hey, jury, go ahead and hate on Sean Combs. You can hate him all you want, but this wasn't against the law. He's despicable. He's an abuser. He took drugs consistently, but that does not make him someone that sex trafficked people, which is why witness number 2 was interesting. His name was Daniel Phillip. This is someone who said that for 2 years, he had been paid $600, $700 to $6,000 at a time to come and be a part of these freak-offs, to come and be a part of what they are also calling King's Nights, because as the prosecution said, Sean Combs considered himself a king. and these were King's nights. He said that actually these invites would come from Cassie. The payment transaction would happen with Cassie, but when he would get into the room with Sean Combs and Cassie for a threesome, Sean Combs would be in a corner with a bandana over the bottom half of his face, as well as a hat. He did say he knew that it was Sean Combs, but he said that many times during their interactions, Cassie appeared to be scared, or he would hear in the next room Sean Combs berating her and smacking her and hitting her. He said at one time, Daniel Phillips said that, while I was paid, I was also there and felt like I needed to help her. He said that Cassie came to him and kind of jumped on his lap out of being scared because of Sean Combs. And he asked her, he said, "Why are you in this relationship? I don't understand why you are staying, and you need to go." So just a very interesting take from these two witnesses with some facts that we just haven't heard about yet.
All right, then. Well, it's going to be a whole lot more of this, that kind of testimony that we can reasonably expect. And so we certainly appreciate you breaking it all down for us, Candace. And we'll be chatting with you again and again.
All right. And can I jump in and say one more thing? A very pregnant Cassie. They expected her to go on the stand today, ran out of time. I expect that we will see Cassie take the stand tomorrow, Roland.
Well, that will no doubt be some explosive testimony coming from Cassie, because it was her lawsuit that once it was filed public that really kicked all of this off. And Sean Combs settled that lawsuit some 24 hours later, but the damage had already been done. And that is what jump-started the federal investigation that led us to where we are today. Candace, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Folks, gotta go to a break. When we come back, we're going to chat with Congressman Jim Clyburn. Lots to talk about, including you have these progressives who don't like him. You got folks who say it's time for people like him to retire. They're too old. And he's like, why should I leave? Lots we're going to chat with Congressman Jim Clyburn right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live from Houston. Back in a moment.
On the next, A Balanced Life, we're talking soul and soul food. The kitchen is the heart of the home. So many memories that are there, the things we've learned, the recipes that we've tried to garner and to somewhat figure out how to cook ourselves. There's something about the kitchen and family and being at the table that brings us all joy. We're going to be joined by some amazing guests who are going to talk to us about how do we keep tradition alive and what are we doing for the culture.
The traditions and the gathering and the warmth and security, those memories are super important. And we have to, make sure that those continue to happen. So no matter how we get in the kitchen or around the food, I just want you there.
That's all next on A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
Now streaming on the Black Star Network.
In France, me and Tony, and accidentally went to the Louvre, right? I had never been, and I saw a side door. And we got off the little bus. I said, come on, let's go to the Louvre. I mean, I'm just like, let's go to the Louvre, right?
We're here.
This black girl is at the door with this white guy, black African girl. And she says, oh my God, Vanessa Bell Calloway. And I'm like this, you know me? And come to find out we were at the wrong door. But she said, I'm gonna let you just go in here. But I was in Paris, France. Mm-hmm. And that shocked me. She knew my name, she knew me. Mm-hmm. My movie. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you just gotta, they say, build and they will come. Put it out there, people will find it, they will come.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Let's talk. Vote blue no matter who.
We need political imagination more than ever, and unfortunately, some people on the Democratic side really are discouraging that. We're going to dig into all of it.
The Democratic Party needs to remember who they are and who they are responsible to.
This is On the Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, the Tuskegee Institute, now university, forever linked to the infamous and despicable syphilis experiments done on the poor rural farmers in Alabama and the Tuskegee Airmen, the famous heroes of World War II. But its history is about so much more. In his new book, The Tuskegee Student Uprising, author Brian Jones reveals a largely untold history, rich in radical activism and reform.
Suddenly the students are meeting these folks whose lifestyle is very different from theirs, very rural, but they're seeing them lose family members. People in their family disappear.
How Tuskegee became an epicenter for Black power. An amazing history lesson on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
We begin to tread on the street with the people who are really running the country right now. Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy and Reed and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Hey, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. I am here in Houston, where I was presenting my annual scholarship at my alma mater, Jack Yates High School. So glad to be back. Lots to talk about with my next guest. His name has been bandied about a lot. You have DNC Vice Chair David Hogue, who took exception to a comment that Congressman Jim Clyburn made about running for re-election. You've got other progressives blasting him, but you've got folks saying, wait a minute, why is it these white liberals keep going after Black members of Congress? If you're going to criticize Congressman Clyburn because of his age, why people are so quiet about Steny Hoyer, Nancy Pelosi, and others? Well, Congressman Jim Clyburn joins us right now. Congressman, always glad to have you here. I got to read this for you. I saw this tweet earlier that I got a kick out of. So Cenk Uygur with the Young Turks made this comment. He said, why do we have to, so Bakari Sellers said, I like David, is it David Hogg or David Hogue? I want to pronounce his name right. The young man of the DNC.
I don't know. I call him Hogg.
All right. So Bakari tweeted 2 days ago, I like David Hogg, don't know David, but the audacity to tell Clyburn to get over himself is wild. Because on Bill Maher's show, he said there have been a few members that have come out that have said, if I retire, my life is effectively over. Get over yourself. This isn't about you. So Cenk Uygur responded saying, why do we have to have respect for Clyburn? What a weird ask. Here's a man who has hurt progressives more than anyone in Congress, who is a lifelong politician and serves the corporate donor class loyally and even worked with GOP to cost Democrats an extra seat in South Carolina. No thanks. And so you have these young folks out here saying that there are too many older members. So what do you say to that?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Roland. First of all, I've never been on Dave Maher, what's his name?
Bill Maher's
show. Never have been on it. I don't know where he got that from. I've never said anything like that in my life because I don't even believe that. The fact of the matter is, I look forward to retiring and spending time on the golf course. So this is not my life. I retired from state government and ran for Congress. I ran for Congress in a very crowded field, and I won with 56% of the vote. And no runoff was required. And so I respond to the people of the 6th Congressional District of South Carolina. They own the seat. I meet with these constituents regularly. I just finished 4 town halls. I'll have 2 next week. And I've had them at the behest of people in the district. And I've been called by people from North Carolina, Georgia, asking me to come to their congressional districts for town hall meetings. And so I respond to Democratic voters. I don't know who these people are who are tweeting and saying whatever they say, but I can say the premise it's certainly just not true. I don't consider my life to be over if I don't serve in Congress. I lived a long time.
They're apparently quoting some Wall Street Journal article. They said the Wall Street Journal quoted you said, quote, Nancy left her seat, Steeny left his seat, I left my seat. What the hell am I supposed to do now? What do you want me? What do you want me to give up my life? And so that's what they're basing this whole thing on.
Well, maybe I should have said, do you want me to commit suicide? I mean, that's what, jump off a bridge or something. What do you want? This seat belongs to the people. When folks in my caucus decided they wanted to go young, I assist with that effort. And that is what the caucus can do. Now, the caucus doesn't own the 6th congressional district seat, no more than the caucus owns Steny Hoyer's seat or Nancy Pelosi's seat. I'm younger than both of them. So we run in our congressional districts at the behest of our constituents. So I don't know what they're talking about. That is just the way things are. I have no idea whether or not I'm going to run for re-election. I'll make up my mind at my annual family meeting later this year. And you know when that takes place. And we'll decide at that time in consultation with my party here in South Carolina, as well as the constituents that I serve. And so David Hogg or Hogue or whoever it might be won't be making that decision. My constituents will do that.
You'll be 85 in July. Congresswoman Maxine Waters is going to be 87 in August. So when you hear people say, I'm sick of these people, they too old, they've been here too long, there are a lot of people who love the fire and the vigor of Congressman Maxine Waters. And look, I've been to South Carolina. I know how your constituents feel about you. I know how Congressional Black Caucus members feel about you as well. And so when you hear people say, well, we need to get rid of these folks who are too old. Look, I understand that argument when you're talking about folks who have been ill, who have been sick. You've had two Democrats who passed away this year. One from Arizona, of course, my frat brother, my alpha brother, former mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, passed away as well. But there are members who still got a lot of fight in them. So what do you say to folks who say, look, you keep saying I'm too old. Listen, all you got to do is run against me if you want the seat.
Well, I say the seat belongs to the people of the 6th congressional district. I have opponents every time in the Democratic primary. Last time I had an opponent, I think they had 2 opponents. And they shared 8% of the vote, and I got 92%. In the general election, I used to get 60%. And so I know that constituents let their feelings be known. I go to church in this district. I go to meetings in this district. I talk to people in this district. And quite frankly, I feel very comfortable with the people I serve, and they seem to be pretty comfortable with me.
What's interesting to me is a lot of people, and this is sort of strange to me, they blame you for President Joe Biden because your endorsement was hugely important for him in South Carolina. But I got to remind people, he didn't win all the delegates required to be president in South Carolina. There were other primaries for the people who supported Bernie Sanders. I keep saying, hey, if Bernie was the choice, voters in other states could have chose him. So, what do you make of the folk who are constantly complaining that you're the problem for helping Joe Biden when, listen, there were a lot of people who ran in 2020, and hell, if the progressive voters wanted somebody else, they could have picked somebody else.
Absolutely. And it's kind of interesting to me because anybody who want to blame me for Joe Biden, I accept that. I'm very proud of that. I do believe that if you look at Joe Biden's record, own substance, he comes as good as they get. Second to Lyndon Baines Johnson in production, in substance. Now, Joe Biden's style doesn't fit a lot of people. My style don't fit a lot of people. The fact of the matter is, there's no substitute for substance. And you look at Joe Biden's record, how can you argue with the record? It's clear. You said the polling numbers were bad. Was that on substance or was that on style? And I still maintain that Joe Biden had a very productive presidency, and I do believe that he will go down in history based upon that production. I don't apologize for Joe Biden. In fact, I take great pride in it.
How do you respond if critics say Congressman Jim Clyburn, he's not progressive enough? He blocks progressive policies. We need more progressive leadership. How do you respond to that?
Well, I would like to look at the record. What determines progressivity? If it's your record, show me who's got a more progressive voting record than I've got. I'd like to know where the difference is. And if you look at, it's just, I don't call people names. I confine profanity. People want to use it. I just don't use profanity in the public. I don't even use, some people talk about 4-letter words. That there's a 3-letter word that I never try not to use. L-I-E. My parents did not allow me to use that word. And so I just don't have a style to go around calling people's names. I'd rather make headway than to make headlines. If you're looking for headlines, then you got to find somebody else. If you're looking to make headway, then I'm your guy. And look at the production, and I think you agree to me. Let me give you a couple of things. When I got elected to Congress, we didn't have a single national park in historic South Carolina. We now got 3. We didn't have a single heritage corridor in this historic state where the Reconstruction era began here in South Carolina. We now have 4. And guess what? All 7 of those things have got one thing in common. They are my bills. I created all of them. And so when people say, you've never done anything, ask them, who created the Rural Energy Savings Program that I got the Legislator of the Year award from the National Electric Co-ops because of that program? Who got the 10, 20, 30 funding formula that's now in 17 sections of the appropriations bills? I can go on, and I'll ask, what progressive do you measure progressivity by the bills you introduce or by the bills you get passed? And when you measure by the bills you get passed, I'm sitting, as we say down here in the South, in pretty high cotton.
I do want to talk about what's going on right now. Today, Donald Trump flew in on a State Department plane, 50 white Afrikaners, enlisting them as refugees, providing them housing, food assistance, things along those lines. He claimed that they are facing racial discrimination in South Carolina, in South Africa. First of all, there was 2 things that were similar. That is South Carolina when it came to the Civil War and apartheid in South Africa. Those were 2 things very much in common. But what's crazy to me is that was a law that prevented black people from owning land. And he's talking about how land has been taken from whites there, when whites make up 7% of the population in there, but they own more than 70% of the land. And I have been trying to explain to people this constantly. Donald Trump wants white immigrants. He does not want black and brown immigrants in America.
Well, he said it. How many times would he need to say it? And we refer to the home countries of people of color as S-hole countries. What is he saying? When we just got the recognition of white South Africans, and there are black South Africans, and why can't they get visas to come into the country? When he talks about immigration, he makes it very clear that he sees immigration as being white only. And now, there's a biblical scripture, as you know, I grew up in a parsonage. I think it's found in around the 7th chapter of the book of St. Matthew's. It says, it is not their words by which we know them, it's their deeds by which we know them. And so no matter what Trump may say to the contrary, look at what he is doing. Look at what he's doing to the National African American Museum. Look at what he's doing to the first African American woman to head up the Library of Congress. And she only had 1 year left in the 10 years, but he fired her. Why? Simply because he wants to demonstrate to certain people in this country how anti-black he can be. It's just that simple. And so when I see, as I did last week, right here in South Carolina, 3 African Americans on TV saying they voted for Trump the last time and they're going to vote for him, they will vote for him again. And the gentleman says, yeah, I know he's an a-hole, but he's authentic. Now, come on. Ku Klux Klansmen, white supremacists, they're all authentic. So you're telling me I will abide with your racism so long as you're being authenticated. I'm not too sure what that really means in this country we're currently living in.
I have some other questions, but I want to let my panelists also get in here. First up is Melinda Hale. She's an actress and creator of Black Voices Heard Project. Melinda, what's your question for Congressman Jim Clyburn?
I just want to understand how we are trying to pass this policy when it's like a fake moral panic. And so I'm just curious when it comes to Donald Trump wanting to bring these white South Afrikaner refugees to the States, how he's going to really push this narrative that they are in trouble versus the Black and brown refugees who actually are fleeing dictatorship and have political unrest in their countries or economic instability.
Well, if you're looking to me for an answer, I don't know. I don't think he can reconcile that. And I don't think he's going to try. I think he's doing what he's doing in order to send signals. He would hope that we in the Congress would raise issues about it so that he can say to his so-called MAGA base, I told you so. So I think that's what's going on here. I don't believe that he cares one bit about how it looks or how it feels to other people.
Kelly Bethea, communications strategist. Kelly, what's your question for Congressman Jim Clyburn?
Hi, Congressman. Good evening. My question is centered around the fact that we know now for sure that the Republicans, Donald Trump's administration in particular, is following Project 2025 almost to a T, page for page. And I guess my question to you is, do you know whether there is an answer for the Democrat side to Project 2025? And I ask that because I will never say that the Dems are doing absolutely nothing, that we're not hearing from them, blah, blah, blah. But it does appear that the answer that we are seeing out of Democrats are a lot more fragmented and it doesn't seem as cohesive as what appears to be the united front of the Republican Party, be that good, bad, or indifferent. So my question is there a cohesive, unified front answer from the Democrats to the Republicans' Project 2025?
Well, no, there's not one single answer to it. As you know, Project 2025, if my memory serves, is about 950 pages. I went through that document before the Democratic Convention last year, and you may recall when I spoke at the convention, I said this: Project 2025 is Jim Crow 2.0. Now, some people went after me for saying that. Well, I'm going to say it again. Project 2025 is Jim Crow 2.0. And I think it's being borne out. So I don't understand why people are spending so much time talking about people's ages when we know that the seat that I sit in is, I don't care if you're 85 or 25, it's a Democratic seat. But that's one of 213. We need 218 in the House of Representatives in order to make law. So nobody is spending any time on those other seats, except maybe yours truly. I was in Nancy Mason's district last week. I was in the 4th Congressional District the week before, trying to create the possibilities of picking up Democratic seats. So that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us spending time and resources in districts not held by Democrats. And when you've got somebody running out there saying, I'm going to raise $10 million to run people against incumbent Democrats, what does that get you? Replacing one of the 213 gets you nothing. You got to pick up some of those other 5 seat districts in order for us to change what's happening in Washington. And so I would think that we ought to really focus. Now, let me tell you what Democrats are doing. Hakeem Jeffries is doing an exceptionally good job. He, like all of us, have got to keep our caucus together to fight this new budget that's coming down. We've got to do what is necessary to maintain Social Security, to keep creditable Medicare and Medicaid, what I would call affordable housing. We have got to keep our caucus together, and we have got to try to do what's necessary to pick up 4 or 5 votes on the other side in order to stop this budget. We are not going to stop this budget with this circular firing squad that seem to be running around all over the country, shooting at people who are working hard to try to get things done. Now, let me give you an example of what is happening in a lot of places in the media. People look at Social Security. I see all kinds of stuff about Social Security need to be gotten rid of because they ain't going to be there for the young people of today. Social Security is there for young people right now. I know plenty of people in my congressional district who are 18, 19, and 20 years old receiving Social Security because they're getting survivor benefits that come from a parent or grandparent who has passed on to them the benefits that they get for surviving with Social Security. So Social Security is not anything that's just there for older people. Young people, 15, 16, 17 years old right now benefit from Social Security. Medicaid. Medicaid is not just there for low-income people. It's there for everybody who needs nursing home care right now. And let me tell you how that benefits. You got a parent or a grandparent need to be in a nursing home, get rid of Medicaid, nursing homes go away, then who will have to take care of that parent or grandparent? So I think we need to focus on exactly what is going on in Washington. These people are trying to create an underclass and make that underclass a poor class. That is what is going on.
Attorney John Quell Neal out of Atlanta. John Quell there? Guys, let me know if she's there. All right, let me know what's going on here. Congress, let me ask you this question here. I got to get your take on this grifter in chief happily accepting this $400 million plane from Qatar. His family settled that lawsuit. Excuse me, they announced that resort $5.5 billion on the continent. They keep doing these deals. He's selling this meme coin. He's hosting this dinner for people who buy his coins. For all of the people who attack Hunter Biden for selling art, and MAGA held all these hearings about corruption with alleged corruption with Joe Biden, Republicans, your fellow House members, Senate members, are absolutely silent over this grifter in chief that occupies the Oval Office.
You know, there are a lot of things wrong with this airplane business. It is not just about grifting. This guy, I don't know of anything that I've seen since I've been in government. And I've been around government a long, long time. I've been on this earth a long time. I've never seen anything like this. I never thought I would live to see the day that the American people will accept this kind of violations of our Constitution. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. And let me say a couple other things about that. This is also about a security issue. In 1972, I was in the Soviet Union. And when we were in the Soviet Union, we could not go, but we had to go to temporary embassies. Why? You may recall that we built a new embassy in Moscow. And what happened? We found out that they had put listening devices throughout that building, inside the walls, and it was so bad, they had to tear it down. We never could occupy it. Now we're going to get an airplane made in a foreign country and going to have the White House have the discussions that go on that airplane, listened to by people all over the world. How can we possibly sit silently by and allow this to happen? I just don't understand this. We need 218 votes in the House to stop this. And if one of those 218 happens to be Jim Clyburn or Maxine Waters or Steny Hoyer or Nancy Pelosi, so long as they help us get to 218.
John Quell is back. John Quell, what's your question for the congressman?
Here, as it relates to the aircraft that you were just talking about, how do you feel as a reference to President Trump accepting this plane as being a violation of the emoluments clause, which requires that Congress approve any kind of acceptance of gifts from foreign governments?
Absolutely. I believe the emoluments clause is there, it's in the Constitution, and Congress has to decide that. And I just don't believe that there are 218 votes in the Congress for that to happen. I know Republicans who will not vote for that. They know how bad that is. They know it's not just him being a grifter. It is about our national security. In order for that plane to be safe, it's going to have to be taken apart screw by screw in order for them to ever be able to determine whether or not it's safe to be discussing national secrets in. So if you don't mind him being corrupt? Okay. Let's worry about the national security and what that will do if this plan is ever used by our chief executive.
Well, we see the drama that's going on with this guy, and I'm cracking up how Republicans are praising him for this so-called China deal when the end result is that the tariffs are going up and the American taxpayer is being screwed by Donald Trump. So I know that has to tick you off because, listen, the tariffs are impacting employers there in South Carolina, automakers. They're looking at making massive cuts. And this fool is running around talking like he is just the most brilliant negotiator in the world.
Well, you know, I'm glad you brought that up. The tariffs. Rural people in this state, farmers, are going to see their crops rot in the fields because they're losing customers overseas. Volvo just announced that it's laying off workers because of tariffs. We just had Donald Trump to say when he was told what this is going to do about employment. I couldn't care less, is what he had to say. And then when he was told that all these ships that we expect to bring goods in are not coming, what did he say? That means we're going to lose less money. So the country is going to lose less money, but that is good. When people lose their jobs, you just don't care. I'm telling you, we need to get real about what's going on here. This is a repeat of the great betrayal. You know, I refer to that period, you know, I don't know if I've talked to you about this, Roland, but I just finished my third book. And this book is about the 8 African Americans that served in Congress from South Carolina before me. The problem is there are 95 years between number 8 and number 9. And the reason there are 95 years there is because of what I call the Great Betrayal. The Great Betrayal took place when Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican from Ohio, turned his back on those black folks who had voted for him. Those black folks were all members of the party of Lincoln. But Hayes double-crossed them. Everybody keeps talking about the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln. It is also the party of Rutherford B. Hayes. Yes, Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation and issued it. Hayes brought Reconstruction to an end by double-crossing black folks. The Great Betrayal. What we see taking place now, those black folks who voted for Donald Trump, those progressives who voted for Donald Trump, those people who felt it's better to have an authentic white supremacist than to have a black woman here. You about to see the second great betrayal taking place.
The Great Compromise of 1877 was not great for black folks, absolutely. Congressman Jim Clyburn, I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing what the latest dust-up is among these young progressives. And there was somebody who made a comment, Congressman. I blame black media. They're not holding these people to task. And I got to keep reminding people, there are 435 House seats in America. There are some 700,000, and maybe the number's gone up, 700, they represent some 700,000 people. Those are the people who decide who wins congressional seats. Not national voters, not state voters, but literally in that congressional seat. And I've said I don't have any problem with people running against an incumbent. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. But if you want to beat somebody What did Muhammad Ali say? If you want the champ's belt, you got to beat the champ. That's how it is. If you want somebody else to be in there, campaign for them, let's see if they win. It comes down to the voters.
Absolutely. And I hope that we will try to do what we can over the next several months to create as many new voters as we possibly can. The fact of the matter is, we are being outvoted because we're being outworked. What Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in his letter from the Birmingham City Jail, he said he was coming to the conclusion that the people of ill will in our society were making a much better use of time than the people of goodwill. And that is what is happening. Last November, the people of ill will made much better use of their time than the people of goodwill. People of goodwill, let's come together and don't let that happen again.
All right, Congressman Clyburn, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Folks, going to go to a break. We'll be back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars are critically important for us to do the work that we do. Contribute via Cash App using the Stripe QR code. We see it right here. You can also go to blackstarnetwork.com. Use that QR code to pay via Cash App. If you want to do a check or money order, please make the check or money order payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Let's talk. Vote blue no matter who.
We need political imagination more than ever, and unfortunately, some people on the Democratic side really are discouraging that. We're going to dig into all of it.
The Democratic Party needs to remember who they are and who they are responsible to.
This is On the Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now. Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
Farquhar, executive producer of Proud Family. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right. Let's get with it. Our panel. Bring them all back. Melinda, John Quell, as well as that Bowie State. What? Why you rolling your eyes and everything? I was just about to sit here and say Bowie State graduate. You just like dang.
It's honestly a post-traumatic stress reaction because I don't know what's gonna come out your mouth, Roland. I don't. I had to like prepare. You know.
Well, you should know what's going to come out of my mouth, but
I never know. It's been 6 years, and I still don't know.
That's why the show's called Unfiltered.
Exactly. So how would I know?
So don't start rolling your eyes. Just, do that after the fact. See, you create drama. See, I wasn't trying to go there.
Okay.
I was just about to sit here and just say, boy, state grant law. But anyway, let's get into it. All right. So it's been quite amusing looking at all this reaction to David Hogg's appointment. So let's deal with the most basic thing. And I'll start here. And Melinda, I'll start with you first. David Hogg is a vice president of the Democratic National Committee. Mm-hmm. And he wants to use his political action committee to run candidates to oppose incumbent Democrats because he believes we need more younger members. We need more progressive voices. I agree with Ken Martin that if you want to lead a pack to challenge other Democrats, you should not be vice president of the Democratic National Committee. I don't believe that a DNC vice chair should be engaged in intra-party battles. I believe that your job with the DNC is to elect folks in the general. So I don't understand. And to me, this is very simple. David, if that's what you want to do, run the pack. It's all good. But to try to sit here and say, well, I'm going to wall myself off from information. No, I'm sorry. You do not have to be a party leader with a title of the DNC. You can be a leader without being part of the DNC. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think he's going about it the wrong way. I am a person that does believe there should be term limits for members of Congress, and not because of their age or because we just want new leaders, but I think we should have new leaders in the sense of ushering in different voices and bringing just different options to the public. And I think telling, obviously, a congressman that has devoted their lives to being a part of change that they need to get over themselves, it's just playing into that narrative that the left often eats their own. I think for me, one of the bigger issues that I have is he's focused on safe seats, but there were 12 Republicans that ran unopposed in 2024. Why are we not putting money into placing Democrats to run in those states, in those areas, so that people can have different options? Whether they win or not is really not an issue for me. It's the fact that those communities don't know that there are other options, don't know what the Democratic messaging is, and that's where that money should be going. So that's the issue that I have with what he's doing right now.
Okay, Kelly, this is very basic. If you don't win the House, you don't have the power. So if you're trying to get the power, it's called a hierarchy. Melinda just laid it out. I need to first get the power, which means I need to be targeting those 15 to 18 so-called purple districts that Biden either won or it was a very small percentage that Republicans now hold. The reality is, you win those seats, you win the House. So if you're David Hogg, if you're targeting safe Democratic seats, that doesn't get to your goal of having power. That means that you just have more progressive people who are in the minority.
And this is my issue with it. To Melinda's point, yes, I believe there should be some, I don't know about term limits. I'm still wrestling with that, to be honest with you. But there should be some form of accountability as in regards to your effectiveness in the seat, right? Clyburn is not an issue, right, when it comes to effectiveness. Some of these older, more tenured congressmen are not the issue. You're just mad because they're in a seat that, frankly, you want. But did you have the balls to run for it? No. So shut up and keep it pushing. But when it comes to the DNC and Hogg, it's like our infighting should be exactly that, infighting in the House. This should not be on on the news, out in the atmosphere, because we act like the Republicans aren't also infighting. They are. We just don't know what's happening because they know how to close ranks, get something done, and move forward as a united front. Most of that is because of white supremacy and racism. That's a whole nother topic, right? But the model is there, and we could learn from the model of closing ranks, figuring our shit out, and moving forward as a united front. To your point, we shouldn't be fighting over seats that we already have. There are plenty of seats, specifically in the Bible Belt, that Democrats have actively ignored, frankly, because they're cheap. They don't feel like putting the money into these districts where there's a Republican stronghold, and they don't want to risk the money in the event that a Democrat doesn't win that seat, and they'll think of it as a waste. It's not a waste. It's a seed that you plant in the hopes that it becomes a tree in your favor. But if you don't think that way, everything is just going to be melee all the time, like it is right now. If you saw people who saw my question to Clyburn, I asked whether there's an answer to 2025. And there isn't. He straight up said no. He talked about the stuff that Democrats have done, but the answer is no, we don't have an answer to Project 2025. That is a problem that DNC could solve if they shut up about seats that we already have. So this is my issue with the Democratic Party. We are picking the wrong fights, specifically within ourselves, when there's literally a racist, bigot system, not just Trump, a system that is infiltrating our American democracy again. Let's not act like it hasn't happened before, but again. And we don't have an answer for it. And we are paying you to have an answer for it. That's my issue.
We're having some is John Quell back, or is still having some issues? All right, y'all send me a text when she's back. Melinda, so Kelly makes a great point that I think you do have to give people a reason to support you. That means an agenda. But again, but here is, I just believe, just one of the biggest problems with Democrats, and I'm gonna say progressive Democrats too. You heard Congressman Clber talk about a lot of the things that President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris got passed. Think about how much of that stuff happened, and then Democrats bitched about what wasn't in the bill.
Mm.
They literally know how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
Two, they're awful at telling people and taking credit for what they did.
Yes.
So much of this, I mean, Terrence Woodbury's research shows us, people will say Democrats haven't done this. Then they come back and say, well, you know, they did this. And people go, really? They had no idea.
No idea.
They're horrible at telling their own story. And so that, to me, I think is what's most important. Take, for instance, what's happening, this whole thing with the Garcia guy in El Salvador. So Trump is appealing to all of these people, white, Latino, black, others, who are like, I'm against immigration. Democrats say, no, we're fighting for due process. Okay, the average person, Melinda, when you say due process, do I really know what due process means?
No, they don't.
Here's how Roland will be messaging this. Why are we fighting for Garcia? Because there's a black man who was put on death row who didn't get due process. And then I would start naming them. I would say this man served 40 years in jail because of lack of due process. And I would say that's why we have laws in this country, that whether you are innocent or guilty, you at least are to have a fair hearing. That ain't hard. And so when people go, oh, look at these damn little, they fighting for this illegal immigrant MS-13. Here's the reality. You could be a member of the Bloods and Crips in the United States. You are due due process. I am not going to say due process only for the good people in this world. It's called the law. Again, you have to message that differently. Go ahead.
I mean, the president they voted for got due process, so they should.
Hello.
They should understand that. You know, I don't understand why we're having that conversation. But going back to the messaging aspect of it, I will say, and I've talked about this before, probably on your show, that Republicans are very good at messaging because they're very simple with their messaging, and they talk to the average person. They don't use big words. They don't go into a lot of.
I'll show you, Belinda. Wage, fraud, abuse. Wage, fraud, abuse. Wage, fraud, abuse.
Bigly.
Waste, fraud, abuse.
And groceries. Groceries.
They give
eggs.
Democrats give you a PhD thesis.
Yes, yes. And that's the issue. And so I think when we're thinking of trying to reach people to get them to understand, we have to break it down into layman terms. Otherwise, we're gonna lose them. I appreciate the intellect of a lot of the people in the Democratic Party. I appreciate the work that they've put into knowing the law through and through. But when you're trying to reach the average person, you can't use those terms. You can't use what you go into law school for. It's just not going to work with them. That is why Trump was, in all of his stupidity, was so effective with getting his message across. He didn't even know what groceries were, but he used that word all throughout the campaign. And people said, he's gonna lower the cost of groceries. I'm voting for him. Ain't nothing lower in the grocery store right now, but he won because of that simple message. So we have to get on the simplicity message train.
And see, this for me, Kelly, is what's so most important. And you remember when Congressman Clyburn, he said a 3-letter word. He said LIE. That's the 3-letter word I'm using for Trump. Congressman Donald Trump said he lied. He lied. That's a lie. Donald Trump said gas prices are down. Lie. Eggs are down. Lie. Lie. I'm gonna sit there and say lie, 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 lie. Anything else you gotta ask me? Lie. See, what they want to do? Oh, he's distorting the facts. No. Lie. Lie. He did. Roy Cohn said deny everything. You can deny everything. You can't force him to say you're lying. You're lying. You're lying. He's lying. You're lying. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're lying. Oh, Speaker Mike Johnson, we're not trying to cut Medicaid. You lying. See, they want to dance around this. I think you got to make this thing simple. You got to hit folks square in the eye. And look, at the end of the day, if somebody says, if I was a congressman, Congressman Martin, do you really believe, what do you think with the tariffs broke? Well, what do you mean broke? Easy. It's going to be a bunch of people broke. Follow me here. I didn't say there are going to be a lot of small businesses who are going to be struggling. No, it's going to be a bunch of people who have businesses who are going to be broke. It's going to be a bunch of people out here losing their jobs. They're going to be broke. I'm using, Joe Madison always said this, you got to put it where the ghost can get it. You got to make this thing simple, Kelly. And I just think they making this damn thing way too complex.
Yeah,
it is very complex for no reason. And I'll say this on 2 fronts. One, the way that you just talked about him lying, I will never forget last year when what was it, NABJ, and they invited Trump to be interviewed. And I will never forget, you were in front row, and I don't know if people could hear it, but everything that this man said, I could hear you in the front, off the echo of the mic. Lie.
Boom.
Lie.
Hold up. You understand? I was on, let me be real clear. I was on MSNBC the night before. I think Jason Johnson was filling in. And I was standing outside of the church where the woman who got shot and killed in Louisiana by the cop was holding the hot water. I forgot her name. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Jason asked, I said, Jason, let me tell you something right now. I said, if Donald Trump start lying and nobody on that panel corrects the lie, you gonna hear me say lie, lie.
It sounded like a buzzer. It was hilarious, and it was everything to me.
I was sitting right there on the front row, and at one point, the executive director of NABJ, Drew Barrett, was like, Roland, chill. They gonna put you out. I said, put me out of what? I said, Drew, this our shit. This is our shit. I said, his security don't control our shit. Right. I said, I dare them to try to remove an NABJ Journalist of the Year, 3-time board member, President's Award winner, lifetime member, Hall of Famer. I said, I dare them to try to remove me out this room because I'm saying lie. And see, to your point about not letting them get away with the lie, and this is where I criticize our president, Ken Lemon. Donald Trump sat there and shit on NABJ, and he said that, the reason we're late because your microphones don't work.
Yeah, no, I remember that whole thing.
But it was a lie. Yeah. Ken Lemon, as the president, should have said, he was on the front row opposite me. He should have got up and he should have said, hand me that microphone. Ken Lemon should have said, we are not going to start this off with lies. No, Donald Trump, that is not what happened. Your people did not want to get fact-checked. And we said this panel was not going to move forward unless fact-checking took place. So we are late because your people made it late. He didn't do that. So what happened? You let the lie sit out there and folk believe the lie. This is the mistake that I believe that Democrats make. I believe when the media, when they are interviewing anybody from the administration or anything, they let them lie on television. They let the lie. And I'm like, no, you got to call that lie a lie.
And that's to your point. And it's interesting to me because I can't. Melinda,
yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I was just like, why am I tongue twisted right now? My apologies. But what you said about the smartness, so to speak, of the Democratic Party and us having, intelligence and da-da-da-da-da, it's interesting because the Republicans have the exact same thing. Let's not act like they don't have PhDs on their side. Let's act like they don't have psychologists on their side. The issue is, or their answer to that is, they use their psychologists to whittle down what the message is. They have marketing teams whittle down what the message is so that it appeals to those who don't have the PhDs and don't have the college degrees and don't have the masters, right? And we have appear to be elitists for the little people, whereas they look like they're for the little people, but they're really for the people with the PhDs and the billions of dollars. So what's happening right now?
Hey, did y'all see the hearing when Marjorie Taylor Greene doctored the photo to make it seem like the fencing guy was holding up his middle finger? Control room, y'all try to find it. So what happened was, so she showed his photo, and he said, game on. And the photo was like this here. And she was like, you posted this before your hearing. Here was the problem. This is what the photo did. And so the Democratic Congresswoman, I forgot her name on the panel, she held up the photo, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're out of order, you're out of order, you're out of order. So here's what, now again, this is what was genius. So, because Jimmy Kimmel even talked about this. So while Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking, somebody with the Congresswoman walked right behind Marjorie Taylor Greene and held up the photo right behind her head, showing you the real photo. That's what you have to do. You have to troll Republicans. You have to have folks at their news conferences sitting there go, hold the signs. They lying, y'all. They're lying. See, I was a firm believer. See, Biden didn't want to do this here. Every Republican that held a news conference proclaiming their love of these new federal projects if they all voted against, I would have sent people to every news conference, and I would have had signs saying, "Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Kamala." And I would have been sitting here talking to the news media. It was because of Biden and Kamala Harris, because y'all do know so-and-so congressman voted against this project. So-and-so congresswoman voted against.
That's less expensive. You know what I mean? It is expensive to fact check after the fact.
Yeah.
Right? It is expensive to pay for these fact checkers and to push marketing campaigns to combat a lie, because I can't remember the exact phrasing, but a lie goes around the world twice as fast and 5 times as many times as the truth will go around once. So look at that as far as math and money is concerned, right? It is expensive to combat these lies. So if you just do it up front, however you do it, it's cheaper, it's more effective, and frankly, for people who do consider themselves to be Democrats and progressive, it actually looks like we're doing something. Because like I just said, the Democrats don't have an answer to Project 2025. The very least you can do is look like it.
Yeah.
And right now we ain't got nothing.
Well, I just and see, Melinda, the people out there, I love these simple Simons. Oh man, all you doing is just shilling for the Democrats. No, I'm actually blue with facts. See, I make it clear. I'm talking to representing black people.
Yeah.
So this ain't about no. And if the agenda is detrimental to black people, I'm calling it out. That's why, see, all them loudmouth MAGA Negroes in Chicago opposing illegal immigration.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear nothing about them Afrikaners.
Yeah.
See, all them. That's why I called out Pastor Darrell Scott. I text his ass. I said, "Hold up, how y'all all super black, but y'all silent when Donald Trump canceled the agreement, but from Biden Harris in Alabama, or them black people who had sewage backing up in their yards? Y'all real quiet.
Yeah.
Y'all quiet. I start walking through all this anti-black stuff, how they real quiet. See, so I'm not Senator Tim Scott, Byron Donalds. I ain't letting none of them get off the hook on none of this stuff. This is why you got to hit folk in the eye. And then it's like, no, I'm going to call a lie out. And if a Democrat lies, I'm sorry, that's not true. That's a lie. See, we got to call this thing what a TI is. And so I'm just not playing this game, and I'm just not going to let the people off the hook, because they need to be challenged.
I agree. Yeah.
Listen, I wore my shirt to the Houston yesterday. Said, "Don't blame me. I voted for a black woman." And some white guy walked by. He goes, "I did," and I was like, "So?" And I'm gonna tell you right now. Here's gonna be my response to if a MAGA person goes, "I ain't vote for her." I'm gonna sit here and say, "So you voted for the liar? You voted for the liar in chief. You voted for the con man in chief. You voted for the grifter in chief." And then they try to get in my face and ask me, bring the facts, bring your ass.
Yeah.
See, I am not willing to cede these lying, grifting racists any ground.
I want to go back to something that you said about the Black MAGA people that are all about, the illegal immigrants, but they didn't say anything about the Afrikaners. I'm curious if you think the reason they're all for deportation is because they think that maybe there's some chance that if they're not in the spotlight and no one's bothering Black people, as long as it's somebody else, they're fine with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts.
Well, I think, listen, I totally understand this belief that, wait a minute, how are these people getting benefits? How are they getting these things? Well, first of all, they also don't understand that let's be real clear what happened here. It was in this state, Governor Greg Abbott, who began to ship people to other cities to cause the dissension. It was Ron DeSantis who did the exact same thing. And so what people don't understand is if you have an influx of 20,000 migrants, you can't just do nothing.
Right, of course.
You can't. It's no different than when Haitians went to Springfield, Ohio. So what you have are people saying, they're getting all this stuff and it's costing us. Okay, I got it. I understand. Then your response is, well, what do you want us to do? So then if you say, well, we got to send them back. Well, you also have laws. You have asylum laws in this country. You also have people. I mean, the reality is there were people who signed up who were going through the actual process who Trump is now storming in trying to deport.
Right.
That people don't say. Why was Mayor Ras Baraka protesting in Newark? Because he said that the facility that they opened, they were violating city and state code.
Right.
That's the law. He's the mayor of the city. Kind of his job. See, we have to understand that, and also, let's be real clear, there are paid people. There are black people who are being paid by MAGA in order to sow dissension in Black America.
Sure.
That is what we have to also understand. Just like there are black people who do not want us to push, prod, and challenge Democrats on some policy. There are some people who believe in the go along to get along. I don't. I believe in you try to get as much as you can, but you also have to recognize when you've gotten so much. So what can I get today? Then what can I come back to try to get next week?
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts there. All right. So here's the deal. I'm going to go to a break. We're going to come back. And I got to deal with the panel. You know what the hell? I ain't take the break now. I'll go ahead and do it right now. Y'all, what the hell? I'm going to go ahead and do it right now.
Stress.
No. Because
I can't wait to know what this is about.
No. It is. When I was on ABC This Week in September 2021, and when I told Governor Chris Christie, and I haven't been back on ABC This Week since, I said, too many of you Republicans are like Donald Trump. You have no morals, no values, no principles, no ethics. These people ranted and raved for 4 years about Hunter Biden. They raved about a pardon. Oh my God, Burisma. Why was he on the board? All this money. Yet we are watching with our own eyes Donald Trump violate the United States Constitution. The emoluments clause, that is not a Senate rule.
Yeah.
That is a literal constitutional measure where the racist founding fathers did not want a U.S. president who could be bribed to do things. This thug has taken bribery to an entire new level, Kelly. The coin for him, the coin from his joke of a wife, the deals that they are cutting, all this sort of stuff, they are raping and pillaging the United States. And this is the Republican response. I don't see nothing. I don't hear nothing. What are you talking about? This is their response. I don't see nothing. What are y'all talking about? I don't see. It's crazy. That's why my whole deal is, from a Democratic side, I don't want to hear shit from any Republican in the future about nothing dealing with corruption if your ass is silent about this thug talking about accepting a $400 million plane from Qatar. And then, we're going to take it. But then with 2029, we're going to gift it to my library for personal use. The fuck out of here.
I think it's interesting. Like when you say those who have stayed silent, for me, silence also includes the people who circumvent the issue, who try to say something, but not too much. You know, like you see a lot of congressmen on these panels and CNN, not really MSNBC, but Fox, whatever. And they'll be like, well, it's not great, but it's not the worst, or we'll just see what happens, or whatever. I would venture to say, I think we need to do an audit on everybody's books. and see where, and we got to follow some money. I'm going to say it. I think even the most ethical Republican right now is getting the cut of whatever Trump is going through or spending, or there's a promise of a cut that is not going to come their way. I think it's really the latter. I think they are, got a whole bunch of promissory notes or something equivalent. You know what I mean? Like some type of, unspoken contract. And they're waiting to cash it in, and it's never going to happen. Just like Fetch is never going to happen, this is never going to happen. And it's interesting to me how Donald Trump has a history of never paying people.
Yeah.
A history of breach after breach after breach of contract, after fraud, after audit, after bankruptcy. And because he looks like you think you can trust him. It just will never make sense to me that one of the most ethical Black women on the planet, flaws and all, we could have had for president. And y'all didn't want her because her name was Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Because she looked more like me than she looked like you. Because you were afraid that somebody like me could be somebody like you. And if I were like you, I would be making your life hell. And you were afraid of that.
Yeah.
And I will never forgive this country for that level of racist bigotry and ignorance. Because it fucked the whole thing up. You fucked the whole game up. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't just going to impact me. This is impacting people who look like you and your grandchildren, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we always get the short end of the stick as Black people in this country, but now y'all color redacted people about to really find out, are finding out.
Yeah.
Right? All because you thought somebody who looked like you had your back, when that was never the case. And there was a history of it never being the case. Like, it will never make sense to me.
It's interesting that you're saying all of that, because I think when it comes to their mindset, because they're so aggressively against us that they can't fathom that we would actually be for them and for all people, which is what Kamala Harris would have been despite having opposition from racist people. She would have been a president to all people. And I don't think that they can wrap their minds around the fact that I hate her, so why doesn't she hate me back? But they see this person, this whatever he is, this celebrity, this influencer, if we're going to be honest, that's exactly what Trump is, because he's not a politician. He's not a good person. He's not smart. He's not a leader. And they see them, and he just really galvanized them to be the hateful people they are, unfortunately. I want to go back, though, to the thing about Republican leadership and them not standing up to Trump. I think they also have this wait and see approach. Like, they're in denial. They're just like, well, let's wait and see. Like, maybe this will turn out good, specifically with the gift, or maybe he won't do this. And it's like, this man has been everything that we've always thought he's going to be. I don't know what you're waiting to see. Like, he's done all the bad things that he said he was going to do. He's not going to change. What are we waiting and seeing for? And I just don't understand why there's this constant denial and fear, because at the end of the day, Trump kind of is a really big loser. So I don't really know why everybody's so afraid of him. But that's how I feel.
I think people are afraid to get hit. I think they are afraid to fight. I believe that they want to try to be as nice as possible about it. And I just don't think for a second you can be nice to a thug. I just don't think so. It just doesn't happen.
Have you seen A Bug's Life? I know I'm going to use an analogy. Have you seen the Pixar movie A Bug's Life?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know where I'm going?
Yes.
Listen, I have a very standard rule. I don't watch animated films. Okay.
A long time ago. You didn't see Bug's Life. Let me get to my point.
Okay,
So the
I'm gonna say this again. Okay. I got 9 nieces, 4 nephews. And the deal I made it clear with my wife is I am not going to watch no damn animated films. Now,
well, first of all, this is 20 years old, though.
I know. It's Pixar.
And I've been married 24 years, and my oldest niece is, 25, 26? So, yeah, I don't care. I don't watch animated films.
Okay, well, Kelly knows where I'm going with this.
I do.
Grasshoppers rule over the ants.
This is a word.
This. Roland, listen. Roll your eyes.
Y'all two talk.
But listen, in the movie, the grasshoppers are ruling over all of the ants, and they're like, y'all better get all of my food by the time spring comes, or there's going to be hell to pay, right? But towards the end of the movie, Flick, who's the leader of the ants, he gets all of the ants to uprise because he realized there's more ants in them than the grasshoppers, and then they all beat the grasshoppers. So my whole point is there's more people that oppose Trump that are for him. If they would all just stand up and stop being afraid of him, we could get this fascism out the door already. That is my point. You should still watch the movie.
You should, because it's so political, and it like you missing on blessings. You missing on good sermons.
Kelly knows. She knows what's up.
You missing on a good word, because that Flick said there are a lot more of us than there are of you.
Yes.
There are a lot more of us than there are of you. And they got them grasshoppers out of there, and they flourished afterwards.
Y'all talking about animated film?
I'm just saying.
We are talking about a word, the message of the animated film.
Is he leaving?
Not him playing basketball.
I'm showing y'all
the message here.
I'm showing y'all how much interest I have in animated film.
It's the message, Kelly. We're
here.
Here, thank you.
We here.
I told y'all. Listen, John Quell back. So y'all want to talk about Pixar and Coco and the Goonie
I ain't say nothing about no Coco. We ain't say nothing about Coco.
Yeah, Coco's all about honoring your ancestors.
Y'all
don't
do
even
whatever.
have that conversation. You know what? Okay.
Listen, I ain't watching them damn animated films, okay?
That's crazy.
Crazy talk.
I've never heard that in my life.
I'm not watching them damn animated films. John Quell, you watch animated films?
Not really, guys. Not
Good.
really.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Have you ever?
Yes, I have before, but yeah, I really don't watch them.
But do you act like he has a disdain for them? Do you like actively dislike them, or it's just kind of like not your cup of tea? You just not gonna watch them.
Y'all keep talking. I ain't.
Yeah, it's not my thing. I'm nothing against it though. I do not have a strong disdain.
Okay,
so absolutely not.
Like what Roland's doing is weird, but this is his show. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm gonna start watching them. I ain't watching them.
It's fine. You don't have to.
I'm not watching them.
I told you the point of the story, so that's the only point I'm trying to say. There's more of them than there are of him, and if people would stop being afraid and just rise up to the occasion, we could get past this.
Build yourself a bird, just like them ants. Get them out of here. That's all we're saying.
Y'all done?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about Google settling a $50 million racial bias lawsuit. The preliminary settlement, which was filed in federal court in Oakland, covers more than 4,000 current and former Google employees in New York. It still requires a judge's approval. Plaintiffs in the class action lawsuit claim Google fosters a racially biased corporate culture where Black employees are steered into lower level roles, paid less, given lower performance evaluations, denied opportunities for advancement. According to the complaint, in 2021, Black employees made up just 4.4% of Google's workforce, or only 3% of its leadership. You know, John Quell, the thing that's interesting is all these people who are anti-DEI, anti-affirmative action, they love talking about merit, but they never, ever want to deal with the reality of unequal pay and things along those lines when you're Black in Silicon Valley or some other areas. But they always got there a lot to say about other nonsense as opposed to the racism that Black people and others have to deal with.
You know what? That's so very true. And just generally speaking, to bring a race discrimination claim against an employer is a very, very difficult case to bring. So, this case is actually, they expect this case to kind of change the landscape for corporations going forward, for them to systematically look at their systems, their HR policies, to examine their DEI policies. And it shows the importance of having them to hold corporations accountable, because these types of claims are very, very difficult to bring, and difficult to prove. And I found the uses of verbiage, Googling this and all of that, I found that to be very offensive, from reading the amount that I did read about the case. But I think this is, I think it's a wonderful result, like I stated, because it's so difficult to bring these kind of cases. So.
And listen, these are those tech bros, Kelly, who kiss up with Donald Trump, and they were the first ones to get rid of their programs in order to kiss his ass.
And it's interesting to me because a lot of those tech bros are also, minorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them are color redacted, Anglo-Saxon white,
except the ones from South Africa,
right?
Like Elon Musk, David, and Peter Thiel.
But I make that point to say that these policies that are coming down that are actively against Black and brown people will apply to them. Their money will not matter, right? Because let's not act like we don't have Black billionaires and Indian billionaires and, Asian billionaires who could, run circles around Donald Trump's money or lack thereof, right? And it's interesting to me how people think that money insulates you completely when we have historical proof that it does not. So, like I said, everybody's about to find out, after a while. My biggest concern of late is with the writ of habeas corpus, the fact that they're trying to, remove that, right? But to your point about this particular lawsuit, Black people are owed a lot more than $50 million. I don't know how many were in the class action and how it's going to be split.
4,000.
Triple it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's settled, but I mean, that scratches the surface, if that, compared to, I'm sure, the emotional damage that they had to endure in that corporation.
Melinda?
I mean, look, obviously I'm happy with the result, but there is no amount of money that can really undo the harm that these employees went through. But I'm really more so worried that this might put a target on their back for future jobs if they are forthcoming not being a part of the lawsuit. Also, Google denied still even settling any wrongdoing. So I do hope that this does kind of warn people that if they are taking part in racial bias in their companies, that they could lose a lot of money, even though $50 million is a drop in the bucket for Google. But I am happy with the result. I do worry about I think you said 4,000, John Quell?
Yes, it's 4,000.
4,000 employees that were a part of this lawsuit. I'm worried about their future.
And if I can add something, number one, to even have 4,000 plaintiffs, that is a massive amount. That tells you right there how difficult it is to bring these claims, right? Because it's all about the microaggressions that go on in these kind of corporate settings, right? It's the main plaintiff I read was the angry Black woman, or, this kind of systematic things that you're just kind of treated differently, right? You're angry, you're intense, you're difficult to work with. You don't fit into the culture there. You're underperforming, whereas you're kind of given standards to attest to that are higher than your counterparts, or maybe you're outworking all of them, but then in some way it's not showing up there at work. And so it's just very difficult to bring those kinds of cases because they just kind of attack you. And it's really something systematic that African Americans deal with in corporate culture. It's just the microaggressions, and it is so hard to prove those kinds of cases. So 4,000. It took 4,000 people.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. John Quell, Melinda, and Kelly. You know what? I need to see if we get a new studio that's like a larger, like with higher ceilings. I'm gonna put a basketball goal in the studio. Seriously.
So you can play.
And a movie theater so you can watch A Bug's Life.
He's gonna walk away again. Why'd you say that?
Let me explain something to y'all. The only Bugs Life I'm watching is goddamn bugs flying around here in Houston. That's the only bugs I'm watching. And guess what? And they fly in my face, that bug life gonna end real soon. I done killed many mosquitoes, just letting you know. All right. Again, John Quell, Melinda, Kelly, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, I was in Houston, of course, presenting my scholarship, annual scholarship, presented 3 at Jack Yates High School. We'll actually show you that tomorrow. Also, Florida A&M having their presidential visits this week. There was one take place today. We'll show you that tomorrow as well. So lots for us to deal with. I'll be back in D.C. at our studios tomorrow. So I appreciate it, folks. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. It's critically important for you to support our work. Join. You want to contribute via Cash App. Do so via the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on your screen. Go to blackstarnetwork.com if you're listening. Also, you want to see your check and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. What's up, Chief? My brother's dog. What you want, Chief? Come back, Chief. All right, so PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Of course, you can also, of course, get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag. Go to RolandMartin.creator-spring.com. The QR code's on your screen as well. Don't forget to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available bookstores nationwide. And, of course, download the app Fanbase. If you want to, of course, be an investor, go to startengine.com/fanbase. Folks, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Yes, I'm in my brother's backyard, so y'all can see. Hold up, let me go over here. Y'all can see he grows his own vegetables and stuff. He's an executive chef. I ain't doing all that, y'all. That's just too much damn work. Only outdoor stuff I'm doing is going to be on the golf course. All right, then. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Holla!
A real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
All right, you straight?